Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Theoman222 versus Jagdsauce in round 1 of the second community patch tournament. Today we are going to be seeing the map Merderet, and on the allied side Theoman is playing with the 101st Airborne, and on the Axis side we have Jagdsauce using the 352nd Infantry. The community patch tournament is played with the community balance mod that can be found on the Steam workshop. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description so you guys can go check it out for yourselves. That includes all of the changes that you will see that affect this tournament. So let's talk about the divisions that we have. The 101st hasn't been changed at all in the community balance mod just yet. It does have its strengths in close range combat as well as a decent air force, so we might see that come about today, especially with a map like Merderet. But over on the Axis side, the 352nd has definitely had some significant buffs. The Panards in the Recon tab have been decreased in price, same with the Stugs, making both of those much more cost efficient than they were before. They've also had changes to the amount of units they can get on certain cards, including the Panards. Also increased veterancy of the Pack 43 in Phase C from 1-star to 2-star, which could make that a 3-star Pack 43, which would be absolutely terrifying. They've added some 81mm mortars in Phase A for the 352nd, which gives them a bit more versatility when trying to deal with enemy infantry that's better than them. Because what the 352nd has to often rely on is their cheap infantry, supported by things like IGs or mortars, and that way they pin down the forces they're up against in order to remove their combat effectiveness. They have added some extra Stostrup in Phase A that can be used for the close range combat. Those actually have 2-star veterancy, so that'll be pretty scary. And the Befehl Panzer III, which is often quite useless, has been given some extra veterancy in Phase A. So that should make that tank a little bit more effective at close range infantry support than it previously was. There are a bunch of other changes, but if you want to go check them out, make sure to check that link in the description. Let's have a look at the units that are going down. So on the side of Theoman here, we have an M22 Locust. It's going to be followed up by a mortar and some command. And then there's going to be plenty of infantry. We've got an airborne engineer in here and probably a couple of airborne rifles. There's also going to be the Pathfinders leading the way. For the middle road, it's going to be a 50 cal, a 6-pounder, it could actually be an M3 gun as well, and airborne rifles, and then some more for the bottom side. Over on the side of Jagdsauce, we have some Fusiliers for the top with a couple of Ostrupen. Then there is the Panzer 35. Further down, we see what could be the 2-star Stostrup squads, some Grenadiers or Panzergrens, I think they're Grenadiers, and then the Ostrupen here supported by another unit of Stostrup. We've got the Fusiliers in there, Panzerschreck and the Panzer 35. Going to be a Panzerjäger 35 for the main road with a couple of infantry, and on the bottom side it's going to be an infantry unit, the IG-18 and a Kubel MG, providing us with some Aufklärer. So looks like Jagdsauce is ready to go. His close range engagements will have to be dictated by his Stostrup, whilst the other infantry provides long range support with the machine gun. So that's what I would like to see going through this game. Theoman on the main road here is using an M3 gun, so whether or not that can find the kill onto the Panzerjäger remains to be seen, because it does have a limited amount of AP compared to the M1 gun that the 101st can bring in, or the M3 gun for the top side there. So the M3 gun, it does have shots down the main road, but the Panzerjäger are going to be taking a swift right to get out of line of sight there. IG has been unloaded on the bottom side, and the Kubel MG here going to be bringing in those recon. So Jagdsauce should be able to get some information on any infantry heading his way down there. See where these engagements are going to occur though. 60mm mortar dropping a little bit of smoke. Actually, I believe that was the leader unit that has dropped the smoke. The 60mm mortar actually hasn't used any of its smoke rounds yet, and is instead using mortar rounds on the main road. I can only assume that that was intended to hit infantry as they came in, but was unfortunately off target and completely missed the mark. M22 though, going to be going down to the Panzerschreck there. And now the mortar focusing on the Fusiliers. Can Theoman see those Fusiliers? He can indeed, but I would not be surprised if Jagdsauce cannot see the Pathfinders. That is because these guys have good stealth, whilst the Pathfinders have very good stealth, and that is the difference right there. For the airborne rifles, it looks like they engaged the Osttruppen potentially, and therefore the IG-18 also got involved. 81mm mortar is on the field, going to be looking for the mortar shells onto the airborne rifles, allowing his Osttruppen to win the day. That first shell was right on target, and as the airborne rifles actually fall back, they're only going to fall back into more accurate fire. And then the Osttruppen can push up because there is no command here. And that will be a surrender if Theoman doesn't immediately start falling back. Because if he does it when they get into line of sight, it may cause them to run in an odd direction, and therefore the Osttruppen don't get the surrender. But in this case, the airborne rifles are going to get away. M3 gun though finds the kill onto the Panzer in the mid. Another M22 has been brought in. Let's hope Theoman doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's decided to smoke off the place where the Panzerschreck was. I'm not quite sure what the intention of this M22 is though, because if Theoman wanted to, he could just bring in more infantry here, provide smoke, and then just use the smoke to move forwards the airborne rifles and airborne engineer combos to sweep out these forest areas, and it would be very difficult for Jagdsauce to deal with. But on the bottom side, the IG has managed to clean up an airborne rifles unit, and it's opened up a nice salient. 81mm mortar continuing the pressure as well, allowing the Osttruppen to continue pushing forwards. Airborne engineers are falling back. And Jagdsauce here with the 81mm mortar is quite simply guessing where the infantry is based on the front line. So really smart play from Jagdsauce to get those mortar shots in there. You can see Jagdsauce also trying to preserve his troops, moving back the Osttruppen and Panzerschreck as the rifles and engineers come across, because he knows he's not going to win that engagement. So no reason to throw away the Osttruppen for nothing. Airborne rifles here are going to get the better of Osttruppen in the open, but this IG doing plenty of damage as these two airborne squads fall back. 81mm mortar coming in to save the day, and we now see the Panzer III on the field. The M3 gun is not being pinned very well by that 81mm mortar, so it could sneak over to the road and get a clean kill here. Jagdsauce is going to have to be careful of that for sure. Panzer 35 pushing on the bottom side is going to end up bumping into the airborne rifles. Not really something that it wants to bump into, since the airborne rifles do have that bazooka. But M22 has joined the airborne rifles in a pushback on the bottom side. These Osttruppen soon to be displaced, as they are forced to fall back. Will they be surrendered though? The airborne rifles getting close. Okay, looks like they've managed to find their way onto the tracks and get out of there. So Panzer III, can it kill the M22? This is the test. It has 4 base accuracy and usually has no veterancy, which makes the gun very inaccurate. But in this case we have the 1-star veterancy, and it is going to find that shot to get the end to destroy and then the kill. Very, very good job there by Jagdsauce with the Panzer III to find that engagement. But the M3 gun now going to have a go. This is really quite risky, actually, for the Panzer III, but the machine guns are going to help pin that down. The Osttruben here with the MG34 and the Panzer III with its 2 MG34s getting the job done. Very nice indeed. Now the Panzer III providing support onto the airborne engineers. He doesn't want them getting too close to his Osttruben, that's for sure. Meanwhile on the top, airborne engineers have been chunked briefly. Airborne rifles forced to fall back, most likely due to mortar fire over anything else. Stoss troop had moved in here as well. You can see the squad is gone, so likely that was a engagement that Jagdsauce had along the way. On the bottom side, the airborne rifles still holding their ground here. But with the Panzer 35 coming up to join the IG, these airborne rifles really do not want to be on the edge of the tree line right now. That's just about the worst place they can be, because they are not supported by any command. And with that being the case, a unit could just swiftly drive up the road and get the surrender there. An M3 gun is being moved into this orchard. It's going to start firing at the Panzer 35. That does have a 1,000 meter range, so at this range actually has 9 AP. But with the Panzer 35 just reversing slightly, does manage to get out of line of sight. M22 going to be having a go at some Osttruppen on the top side. But I'm yet to see sort of staged play from either player throughout this game. I think Jagdsauce in general has been making the better trades. Saying that, the M3 gun might get the better of the Panzer III. Yep, it did indeed. So, trading quite well there. But yeah, overall, I think Jagdsauce has made the better trades so far. But neither player has really put any emphasis on a singular side of the map. And so no breakthroughs have really occurred yet. It's more likely going to turn into a massive build-up on one side or the other based on kill-to-death ratio, and then we'll see a massive breakthrough all at once. IG-18 and Panzer 35 going to be taking on the airborne engineers here as they try and cross the open. Kubel MG, nice ranging there from Jagdsauce, keeping it out of the 400 meter range of infantry light MGs. And using the Kubel to its maximum potential. It's a unit, that isn't really utilized very well very often. Those Kubel MGs can actually be very helpful in pinning down infantry at range. Now we're actually going to be seeing an SBW204 CDM. This isn't actually a unit that I see very often or like at all. It has been buffed. Its price was reduced, but I much prefer the SBW204F, the standard one, because it does have a much higher rate of fire against vehicles at least, and then can just use the machine gun where it lacks. Because in this case we can see that the 204 is using its machine gun, but the main gun's just doing nothing, so you may as well just have like the high fire rate in my opinion. Anyway, Stoss troop have come up, they killed the 50 cal at close range, really nice job. ME109G0 is going to be getting line of sight onto the 60mm mortar and strafing that. This 60mm mortar forcing back those Stoss troop for the time being. But once again, 2 units of infantry taken out there for Jagdsauce, and he didn't lose his Stoss troop in the process, so another nice trade. On the top side, airborne rifles going to be going down, and Leader Winter's currently in a bit of a sticky spot. If he gets discovered, I'm pretty sure he's going to be having some more mortars landing on his head. Another nice strafing run there by the ME109 as he hits the M1 howitzer. That must be in line of sight of some of this recon, I would assume, unless he's quite simply using the fire position command to strafe where these guns are firing from. If that's the case, then you'd have to be extremely accurate to actually do damage and pin the unit. So fantastic job by Jagdsauce to make that happen. This 81mm mortar is going to be going for the counter battery, but will require supply. That is going to be brought in by Jagdsauce right on time. Pack 38 currently squeezing down to the bottom side of this orchard right now, so that it can get into line of sight of the M22 as soon as it comes into the tree line. And being 3-star veterancy, I would not be surprised to see this one hit, or that the M22 moves forwards just in time to avoid that. Intentional or not, that is lucky, because that Pack 38 was very close to firing. Looks like the M22 there got the better of the SPW in the middle, and is going to be now pushing through. Can't really make much ground though, since the Fusiliers here will kill it if it comes too close. Of course, Theoman doesn't know that there are Fusiliers here, but he's got to assume there's some kind of infantry AT, and will require some recon to make his way through here effectively. But now we're into phase B. The 101st does gain access to M4DDs, and M4DDs are actually one of the units that are very difficult for the 352nd to deal with normally. They generally have to rely on Panzerschrecks in this phase to take care of them, since M4s at this kind of range trump anything that Jagdsauce will have in terms of armor. So a close range Panzerschreck shot or a close range AT shot will be what he needs, but if if a AT gun shoots, for example, and misses, the M4 can pin it down very quickly and do a lot of damage due to its 50 cal and 30 cal. The Theoman currently trying to make a play in the center, bringing up a couple of infantry to support his M4DD in a push. These are glider rifles that are going to cut down the last of those Osttruppen. They're also going to be able to put pressure onto the 81mm mortar here. But nice shot there by the Panzerjäger 35 as it cleans out the M22 in the center. IG-18 going to stop these glider rifles from getting too far towards the 81mm mortar, and the Panzer 35 pinning down more glider rifles in the open. But this is the beauty of the M4DD in this situation. It can kill off these IGs very quickly, but here comes a Ju-87. Jagdsauce has the answer. Can he find the kill? He can indeed. This Ju-87 does not miss very often, but I do not want Jagdsauce to keep that about, because it might be just that little bit too greedy. He doesn't really need it to kill anything else. The M22s are dead, the M4's gone. He is going to be getting it out of there. That's a good move indeed. Pack 38 cleaned up this M22. That needs to now fall back since it's coming under fire from the 50 cal. The ME-109 is now just flying away. It might come back for a strafing run, I suppose. But with the Osttruppen engaging the airborne rifles here, we do see that they actually end up dying off. Now it looks like this M1 howitzer might unintentionally kill the Alptra, leaving Jagdsauce blind on the bottom side. Let's see if that actually hits the mark, because it was originally aiming at the Pack 38, I believe. That only takes one more shot off target though to hit the recon. Looks like Jagdsauce is going to get away with it for now. This strafing run I think maybe went for the 60mm mortar up here, but Jagdsauce is going to be making sure that refuels and rearms for another engagement. And we're still on roughly the 50-50. Jagdsauce has been finding an advantage every now and then on the bottom side, but overall the line hasn't moved much. But you can see the density of units on the side of Jagdsauce is slowly but surely building up, and this is only going to increase to a point where the 101st can't keep up moving into phase C, because the phase C power of the 101st is very lacking and mainly relies on its air force. So unless you have a solid ground force already in place, investing into the air in phase C can be incredibly risky, because as soon as Jagdsauce starts seeing a bunch of fighters and bombers coming out, he's just going to push really hard on the ground and realize that there's pretty much nothing there. Also, it does seem like the infantry micro from Theoman is pretty lacking today. Generally, Theoman's a very good player, but I feel like a lot of his infantry units have taken damage unnecessarily throughout this game. And that's actually a big part of playing a division like the 101st. Like, keeping those infantry squads alive is very important. Now the Flak 36 here, it was spotted, so is taking artillery fire from Theoman. The double M1 howitzer just really isn't doing the job at the moment. Not pinning down enough units, and well, that is a horrible kill for Theoman to concede, because Jagdsauce came into that tree line with a 3-star Pak 38 and, well, boom, M4 down. That is a very juicy kill for Jagdsauce and only solidifies his position on this map. Mustang now going to be coming in with the bombing strike, going for the kill onto the Fusiliers. Unsuccessful in finding the kill, and that's unfortunate for Theoman, because that Fusilier will now likely just be used as recon on its own rather than as an infantry unit used to engage. Ostrypen trying to engage airborne rifles at a distance. IG-18 is going to get the better of the airborne rifles here, with the 60mm mortar coming in to save the day. 81mm mortar will be trying to counter battery, no doubt. Actually, it looks like it's going for the Bofors. In my opinion, this 81mm mortar would be much better off trying to hit the 60mm mortar here in M1 howitzer, because the IG-18 has now died. Stosstroop are moving up. Oh, they're going to get ripped to shreds. They only have the 100-meter range engagement, so as they come into the open, they're going to get shredded by 30 cows. On the top side, we are seeing Pioneers now arrive. Ostrypen going to continue the engagement with these glider rifles, but the Pioneers, if they get in range of any of these infantry, can probably one-shot them, but don't want to be revealed at range if they can help it. Now Panzer III, with the 1-star veterancy, is on the field up here. This may stop the M5A1 from being too effective. Further down, Theoman continuously pushing in with this infantry, but his front line is getting very thin. Look at this 60mm mortar. Completely undefended in the mid. As soon as Jagdsauce decides to probe this part of the map, he's going to lose it. And the ME-109G0 has come in here, managed to strafe the 60mm mortar to death. Mustang going to be coming in to contest the ME-109G0, whilst the Ju-87 comes in, gets the kill onto the Stuart, and tries to get out again. Now the P-51 Mustang can't necessarily chase the Ju-87 without the ME-109 from getting it on its tail, but as the ME-109 goes over the AA of Theoman, it is going to get shot down as the Mustang does get on its tail, but with another ME-109G0 coming in off the edge of the field, well, the Mustang might end up going down, and it doesn't manage to outrun the ME-109G0, which is often how Mustangs manage to get away, but this time around, not going to happen. Now, without the Stuart support on this top side, the glider rifles and the airborne rifles are very exposed to an infantry push with the Panzer III in tow, because there's nothing to kill the Panzer III. And the only way that that could be done is with the airborne rifles, and the airborne rifles will be spotted by the infantry. So, potential for a very strong push now for Jagdsauce on the top side, if he decides to go for it. Meanwhile, in the mid though, Grenadiers now taking on airborne rifles with the Stosstroop. Got to be careful, there's no command here. That's going to be one unit surrendered. The Stosstroop still pinned down as well. But with the Pioneers coming in, if they stop to throw their grenade, that could be a dead airborne rifle squad. It is indeed. No attempt from Theoman to dodge that grenade. Nice artillery coming in again though, keeping pressure onto the Flak 36s to maintain that air superiority. Although at this point I'm a little bit worried that it's not going to matter. Even if he continues to maintain air superiority in the late game, he's not going to have anything left on the ground. And it seems as though Theoman was kind of suckered in to a really attritional infantry engagement that really does suit the 352nd. And that's basically meant that he didn't spend any points on aircraft earlier and couldn't use them to support the stuff which he had. And well, with that, Theoman's actually going to surrender 21 minutes and 0 seconds into the game. Great job by Jagdsauce, kept up the pressure. I think at the end, Theoman just ran out of infantry availability, and on a map like Merderet, that is going to cost you the game, regardless of what else you have left. There wasn't enough Air Force used, in my opinion, throughout the game, alongside the infantry. There also wasn't things like off-map brought in, and I think both off-map and the Air Force are very important to use almost from the start in order to supplement the fact that you don't want to lose too much of your elite infantry early on. But instead, Theoman focused on the infantry engagements, and that meant that his airborne rifles and airborne engineers all got chunked very early on, which allowed Jagdsauce to continue spamming in his cheaper infantry and getting the advantage. And that's pretty much what sums up the game. Overall, a very nice KD for Jagdsauce, 1,410 kills to 805 losses. Not quite 2-1, but definitely a strong advantage towards the end of the game. If we have a look at these kills, well, an M3 gun did manage to kill both the Panzer 35 and the Panzer 3, so that's a decent M3 gun there. Pathfinders managed to clean up a Grenadier squad and an Osttruppen squad. I'm surprised we didn't see more Pathfinders throughout the game, because I felt like at some places recon was a bit lacking on the side of the 101st, which was why a lot of infantry was kind of being suicidally charged into the open. But the M4 didn't really pay itself off too well. The Ju-87 came in and just freely cleaned that up. No real contention in the air meant that Jagdsauce could do that, and that isn't something that you would normally see against the 101st. So yeah, the fact that this Ju-87 got those kills onto the M4 and the M5A1, in my opinion, maybe it can happen the first time round because you don't expect the Ju-87 to come in, but probably not the second time round. The Pak-38, that did really well. The 3-star Pak-38 killing an M4 and an M22 saved that bottom side very nicely. The Panzer 3s, the Befehl Panzer 3s, and this one surprised me by getting the M22 kill. But with the extra star of veterancy, maybe that's all it needs to just give it that little extra oomph. Nice Panzerschreck there, kills 2 of the M22s. Looks like the second M22 that was brought into the top side suffered the same fate as the first, which is not something you really want to see. So I think a bit of an off game there for Theoman. But well played by Jagdsauce to keep up the pressure and force Theoman to make mistakes. Make sure, once again, to check out the Community Balance mod in the description. But that's all for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.